Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Diminishing Returns. Why is it special? Well, for one thing, we've got Calvin back. That's always special, isn't it, Saul? Hello, Calvin. He's over there. I'm Alan.
Hello.
And there's Saul. He's drinking a drink, so he can't respond. And it's special, Saul, this episode, because we're doing something a little bit different. We are tackling a TV show instead of a film.
We've done that before.
Yes, but it is quite unusual. We've done it, twice in 289 episodes, or however many fucking episodes we've got.
Yeah, and I think both of those were very early on as well. I think they were in like the first 12 episodes or something.
I think it's special in that we've never tackled something that's, going to be so unpopular with the audience that listen to this podcast. Yeah, I think we're really...
We occasionally do things that are a little bit unknown or a little bit more niche, but they're interesting. Whereas this is just, we're doing Downton Abbey.
I mean, I think this is going to be interesting. I think there's discussion to be had here. This is a popular show, Alan. This is number
with pensioners.
This is IMDb's 107th most highly rated TV show on its list of top 250 TV shows.
Really?
Huh.
This show is popular with Americans to the point that every animated cartoon has done a parody of it at this point. Pretty sure The Simpsons did. Bob's Burgers definitely did. BoJack Horseman, was it? No, it was Tuca and Bertie, I think. Lots of things have been doing it.
Really?
John Favreau watches it in like Iron Man 3 or Spider-Man or something when he's in hospital. Iron Man 3, I think it is.
Okay.
And they make a big joke about how he likes it, and
that's justification enough for me.
It is something of a cultural. What's the word I'm looking for? It's the
Low
voice
point?
of. It's yeah. I don't know. It's part of the culture, and it's doing the unthinkable thing of like being a very popular series and then becoming a film in this
on
day
ITV.
and age.
Yes.
No. Like in theaters, like. What on earth?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have thought it'd be better for, ITV just to commission a mini-series or something and have that on their streaming service. Or
Calvin, well, for our non-British audience, Calvin, can you explain ITV?
Oh, right, okay. Well, ITV was the third channel.
It's the channel
appear.
Calvin watches.
What are you talking? I don't watch it anymore. We watched it a lot growing up, but
which surprises me because I thought you were brought up better than that.
No, he wasn't. He grew up eating stewed beef in a tin.
ITV is perhaps they target audience that is not part of the metropolitan liberal elite, I think is fair to say.
I mean, look,
and they put on adverts.
We're known in this country for the BBC.
Yeah.
It's for all intents and purposes state-funded television. Not quite, but it's like the British equivalent of PBS. And as a result, the BBC strives to produce quality content that's worthwhile and doesn't go chasing viewing figures in quite the same way. And then we have ITV, and that is the commercially driven one with adverts, and so it is basically populated with wall-to-wall populist lowest common denominator shit.
Yeah,
that's pretty much how it breaks down in the world of terrestrial television. And then there was Channel 5, which came along in the 90s and built an audience showing softcore pornography at 9 p.m. onwards on a Friday night.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, you tuned in for that too.
It was pre-internet, all right?
Look, I'm not saying that like a bad thing. I love me some Channel 5. I still have a VHS somewhere with a whole just medley of like 30-second clips from Channel 5 late at night where it's like, oh, press record, it's starting.
Okay, so that's a brief history of television in Britain. And so basically, when we slag off ITV, it's because it's got a bit of a reputation for being, populist crap. But that's not to say they don't produce anything good. It's just an easy joke, really.
Yeah, good example. Back in 1971, they produced the seminal television series Upstairs, Downstairs. About, it was a TV drama about like a big old country house and the servants who work there and the divide between the two classes.
Yes. What are you trying to say?
Oh, just thought I'd mention it. You know.
But obviously there was it Gosford Park that Julian Fellows wrote, which was sort of a very similar setup, but I think it was maybe a murder mystery as well. But then it was after writing that he got the inspiration to, I can just do this as a TV show. And that's, yeah. Do people know who Julian Fellows is? What is he actually famous for? Because I know him he has a bit part in one of the Bond films, and I think he's been on like QI and panel shows and is a bit of an intellectual know-it-all.
Well,
I think he's a lord,
I'll be honest, it's only just dawned on me that it's not the same person as Julian Clary.
That'd be a very different show.
Julian Fellows. Oh, hang on. He's the guy in the opening credits, isn't he, for Downton Abbey?
Is he?
What?
No?
Well, his name's there.
What do you mean his name?
And wrote the bloody thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course it is.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, no, I do remember that he's his own thing then. Every time I watch Downton Abbey, that name pops up and I go, Julian Clary's in Downton Abbey. And then I go, oh no, hang on. It's a different one.
The names are not similar.
They're called Julian.
Yeah. And then...
How many other Julians are there?
Alan, I'm sort of turning to you for this. What is Julian Fellows famous for?
I don't know. Being a bit of a ponce. I know him. Didn't he present that TV show about grammar?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Sounds about right. Because it's a name that I've always been aware of, even outside of the Bond connection.
He's a lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
is that
so is Christopher Guest.
Is he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, but Christopher Guest is one through birth. Julian Fellows has been appointed because he's a ponce.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, there's a TV show called Never Mind the Full Stops that was about sort of punctuation and grammar. A quiz show.
God. He's sort of like he's sort of an intolerable Stephen Fry, really, isn't he? Like, he does a bit of acting, a bit of screenwriting, bit of presenting, but just on that other end of the spectrum, like an evil Stephen Fry.
Like Stephen Fry mixed with Giles Brandreth.
Oh. No. No, I like Giles Brandreth.
Of course you do. Anyway, so Julian Fellows wrote this. He is an Oscar-winning writer.
For Gosford Park, I believe.
Yes.
Which was the same thing.
So he likes his period stuff, I guess.
Yes.
Dirty boy.
And so, okay, Downton Abbey, it started in 2011. 2010?
2010.
Okay.
Yep, 2010. Lasted for 6 series to 2015.
Which is pretty good going.
Yep. And several Christmas specials as well. Which were practically like films in their own right. They were like 2 hours with adverts.
Even the shortest episodes are like, what, an hour? 50 minutes? Something like that?
Well, they're a TV hour, I guess.
Yeah.
So it'll be like 48, 50 minutes.
But I watched an episode that was well over that was just in the mix, that was like an hour and 15 or something. I mean, that's
the opening episode was definitely longer. And maybe the last one of the series that I watched. I only watched the first series. I should state that up front, I guess.
Did you watch it when it first went out? Or
no, I watched it 3 days ago.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, I watched the whole thing as it aired. I think I caught up with the first 2 series, and then started with season 3, watching it on from there. The Christmas specials were a highlight of the Christmas TV schedule for me and my family.
Sure.
We would always sit down and watch the 2 hours of Downton Abbey. Actually, it was quite freeing in 2016 when there wasn't a Downton Abbey on at Christmas, because we've spent the previous 5 years watching that. Saul, what about you? How do you come to Downton?
I mean, I was aware of it from the cultural zeitgeist because American stuff had cottoned on to making fun of it, as I mentioned earlier. So I watched it for the first time over the last few days for this, yeah.
How much did you watch, Sol?
Well, I intended to watch series 1 because I borrowed it from my mum a while ago. My mum was ill, borrowed DVDs, like box sets from a number of people as just something to watch, and she borrowed one from a friend that I hate. The worst person I think I've ever met in my life. My mum says she's good entertainment value.
That's anyway. Why we're friends with you, Sol.
Anyway, bad person.
And Downton Abbey was her favourite TV show. yeah, not surprising. So I just found series 1. I was looking at DVDs at my mum's a while ago, like, what should I watch that I haven't seen yet? I'll borrow this and that. And I finally got around to watching it because we were going to do it on this podcast. I've been meaning to watch it just because it is culturally significant. I wanted to just dip my toe in with an open mind. And I should state, I did go into this with a completely open mind. And I discovered, to my dismay, series 1 is split across 3 discs, and for whatever reason, disc 3 was not in the box, and instead I had disc 1 of series 3. So I've watched Calvin the first 2 discs of series 1, and then like 3 episodes from series 3 or something. So I've had a weird little platter of episodes.
Strange.
Did it make sense?
More or less. I mean, some guy was in prison. I didn't really know what that was about.
You missed all the World War I stuff, but that's fine.
Well, we'll come back to that. Let's just hang on. So I wanted to. I bought series 1 and series 2 on DVD because when we planned to do this several weeks ago, I thought I've got time to watch this. If I get into it, I can watch them. And as you two well know, I watched 15 minutes of the first episode and then messaged you saying I don't think we should do Downton Abbey because I can't bring myself to watch this shit. But you insisted, so what I did was I watched the first series the other day, but I must say I watched it all in one sitting. I basically binged the series, which is about 6 hours.
Oh my god!
Was it like A Clockwork Orange? Did you have toothpicks holding your eyes open? Head in a vice?
No, it was... I found it perfectly quite watchable, I guess, in that sense. And it did just sort of pass by quite easily, and I was watching it, and it did hold my attention, although I was like, packing. I'm moving house, so I was sort of like starting to go through some stuff. But I was engaged with it. But that was why I was able to just sort of sit through it all in one evening, because I was kind of sifting through my possessions and stuff.
Well, I mean, crucially, this did air on Sunday evenings here in the UK, which is just sort of perfect Sunday evening telly to sit down with a short spirit and the family, and put your feet up on a nice autumn day. Antiques Roadshow was on before it, I think. Antiques Roadshow, it was 8 until 9, and then this was 9 until 10, I believe.
I'm just gonna come out and say it. One of my first notes here is, and like I say, I did go into this with an open mind. I really did. One of my notes here is, watching this show has made me think less of the human race.
Oh my god. Why? What's so grossly offensive about it?
Oh, you kid? I mean, because it's not that the show itself is that bad, because it is watchable. I mean, it's bad, but the fact that this has been plucked out and become... all of the characters are utterly, utterly loathsome people. Ooh. From the ones that are cartoonishly two-dimensionally loathsome, like that gelled hair twat that spends every episode going, "Oh, I'll tell you what you should do now. Here's a really good plan," and then they'll cut to the new person going, "Oh God! Oh, I tried cleaning your shoes with the materials he told me about, and I've set them on bloody fire. They've burnt down. Oh, And then some big fat posh twat who's like the head of the butlers going, "How dare you make a mistake, even though we didn't train you up properly." And then they go, "Oh, well, he told me to." And he goes, "Oh, I don't believe I did tell you to do that. Did I, sir?" It's, oh my god. So they're the ones that you're meant to dislike. And then there's the ones you are meant to like benevolent Hugh Bonneville, cuddly Earl with all the money, who spends all of I've seen from series 3 crying because he blew all of the money on a bad investment. Oh, well, we're rich and, no, we're not rich anymore because I've fucked up, but we've got to keep this house going. It's so important that we have a big house with wealthy people in it and servants. It's so important. We couldn't possibly let the legacy of Downton die. I've sacrificed too much being born with a silver spoon in my mouth to ever... Oh, God, I hate all of them, Calvin. I hate them all. The fucking simpleton woman one who walks around going, "Oh, I'm going to be receptionist. I can't be a receptionist. I don't know how to write." And then the posh plum in her mouth one who's like, "I'm taking an interest in you and I'm going to teach you to write. It's simple. Look. Oh, Papa, I've gone to a political meeting." "Well, it better not be for bloody progressive politics." "Oh, what if it is, Papa?" "Hello, I'm the Irish one. Up the IRA. Oh, politics at the table. No." Oh, I hated it. I hate them. So there you go.
Well, so that was a fairly accurate rendition. If anything, you've caricatured it even more than they are in the show, which is impressive. But yes, okay, so yes, I agree with you. You seem very angry about it, though.
It's the fact that it's a celebration of this old shit.
It's the fact that people like it. That's
what I mean. And that's gone down so well. And I can forgive the Americans for latching onto it, because I get it. They haven't got any history of their own, and they fetishize other art history, because they're like, oh, well, I understand that. But the people in this country who latch onto it and go, oh, God, things were nice back then.
Is that what people think?
I think that's a big part.
Do people watch this and go, "Oh, we're great back"? We're great.
I think they watch it and go, "Oh, how quaint and soft." Like Hammond says, soft, warm Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening television. I must say the inequity of the lifestyle that they live, the upstairs downstairs element, is really played down. It's like all the servants are basically happy with their lot. Yes, well, it's a noble life, isn't it, being a butler?
Because it's also because
to aspire to.
And obviously they're slaves to the best slave owner in the town, so that's all right. Because Hugh Bonneville,
and occasionally
like,
they lampshade it. Occasionally they have the Irish guy come in and go, "What? That's a symbol of oppression." And then Maggie Smith rolls her eyes, and you're meant to go, "Ha ha ha! Hilarious, Maggie."
It becomes problematic a bit later on when that Irish one actually becomes one of the aristocrats. He marries Lady Sybil, but then she dies at the end.
Does he really? That's okay. Can I say, right? I watched the first series and I don't know anything that happened after that point, right? So the fact that they were setting that up, that they were getting along and he was like pushing her interest in politics. Yeah, the idea that they would get married is kind of ridiculous. Also, I don't know if they make anything out of this later on, but having an Irish character who's really interested in politics and then like not really talking about Irish independence whatsoever is really weird. Does it come up later on?
Yeah, it's series 3. I saw an episode, I assume it must have been series 3, where someone, probably the snivelly snide one or something, slipped something into his drink, and so he got a bit drunk at the party and was just going, "Oh, you're fucking king and queen, fucking ruling over the Ireland. It's like you being ruled by the fucking Kaiser." And then, like, the king butler nearly has a heart attack. Goes, "Oh my god! Well, I never." And like an old woman's monocle like pops out of her eye and stuff like that. Is this show meant to be a comedy? Because in series 1, there's a whole arc that basically amounts to a period costume remake of Weekend at Bernie's, and it's fucking hilarious. This guy sneaks into a woman's bedroom late at night to shag her, which is like scandalous because it's the old days. And I mean, it's pretty scandalous that he does just like sneak into her bedroom anyway. And then the second they start having sex, he has a heart attack and dies in her bed. So then the whole house have to...
Just to be clear, he's a very fit young man. He's about 23.
No sign of heart problems or anything like that.
Absolutely no kind of preamble to sort of suggest he might be a bit sickly or anything like that.
I've known people in the 20s have heart attacks. Without the proper medical care, without a good old NHS.
And then, like I say, there's an extended sequence of a load of the housemaids, like, carrying this bumbling, like, trying to lumber a corpse across the building without being seen.
Yeah, and then the butler walks in, and he goes, "What's going on?" And they have to pretend he's just, like, drunk.
Yeah.
And they're putting him to bed.
Yeah. They put some sunglasses on him, of course. Not sunglasses, sorry, a monocle. They put a monocle on him.
Yeah, sun monocles. Yeah, they grab his chin and go, "Oh, hello, I'm just going to bed."
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, I think that the show is aware when it's sort of doing something a bit silly.
Is it?
I think so. I think that was particularly tongue-in-cheek.
Was it?
Yes, I'm not sure it was.
Because it also becomes a big plot point in terms of her reputation.
Oh, yeah.
This woman whose virtue has been soiled by a corpse. A Turkish corpse.
Well, it was a triple threat, wasn't it? He was Turkish, he was in a room, and he's dead. So,
what I was curious to... Basically, the end of the first series, and obviously I wasn't enticed to watch any more, but the end of the first series is the start of the First World War. And that... it's interesting where they would go with that in terms of this story.
What is the end of series 1? I haven't seen it. What happens?
The war kicks off. They're at a garden party, and then someone sends him a telegram saying that war has started.
So all of series 1 like takes place over about like, what is it? 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah,
when did the Titanic?
Sort of 1912 to 1914 is. Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay, which is a problem, and it keeps on that trajectory. I think by the time it ends, it's like 1928 or something, even though the characters haven't aged all that much. But you do just have scenes that end with, like, people talking about something, and then 2 scenes later, they'll pick up that same conversation again, and it's supposed to be, like, 2 years down the line.
Well, they're very, very petty individuals. I think that stands with what we see.
Well, the reason I found that interesting is because, this sort of stuff, this lifestyle, this upstairs, downstairs kind of thing, the First World War was basically what finished that off, or at least a big part of that. And the First World War was a great kind of democratizing thing, and everything that came after it, like the Russian Revolution, and then the national strikes, all this sort of stuff that is kind of precipitated by the First World War. And not to mention, half the characters in this would presumably have gone to war. So I don't know what Series 2 is missing half the cast, I guess.
Well, they are still in it. The first series was quite a big success, so I guess they got more budget, so they do have some proper, frontline battle stuff.
Really? I was curious as to where they would take it with that and how that would affect things. And I think that could be a really interesting way to tackle, and give the different series a different flavour. Because if your second series is the war series, and then the next series is post-war, if you're going to do it, or if you're doing 2 years per thing, I guess. I think that could be very interesting because significant changes were happening that would affect these guys. I do think you want to keep it centred around Downton Abbey. I think when you're going away from there, you're losing your focus. So if they're going to the front lines and stuff, you're following the characters, not the story.
Well, I mean, that was a part of it, but they did, like, Downton Abbey itself opened up and they started bringing in, like, the wounded.
Well, exactly.
I guess they shipped them over from somewhere else, and the ladies of the house were tending to them. They kind of dropped this because it was an unpopular subplot, but there was one, like, burn victim that turned up, and I think he was, like, some distant relative of the Crawley family.
And made everyone feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, well, we can't really tell because your face is melted off, so this is awkward, isn't it? And then he just sort of went off at the end of the season, and then I think he might have popped back later on, but it was a very unpopular story.
Okay, here's another thing that I noticed from watching Series 1. There is obviously a pretty strong through story that we're following, several stories, plot lines that are going through the whole series, but then they seem to want to do this episodic stuff as well, where it's just a little thing happens in this episode, we tie it up, a couple of scenes, 20 minutes. I can give you an example. The butler used to be on the bloody variety stage.
Oh, yes.
Which comes out of nowhere. It means nothing. It has no impact. It doesn't affect anything.
It does, Alan. It's shameful. How could he possibly go on heading up a household of, like, as the head butler after that comes out and people know that he used to do that?
Because they go, oh, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Well, that was the shocking twist, wasn't it? At the end, no one saw that coming.
They did that a lot, actually. They were always fine with these things. Was Mrs. Patmore's cataracts in Series 1?
Yes.
Ah, right, yeah. I remember that one. But that one runs over a few episodes, doesn't it? Because she's just angry at everything, and then they're like, oh, I can't read the recipe.
That pretty much ran right through the series, like right from day one. I didn't mind that. It gave that whole kitchen area a bit of character, a bit of flavour, and it gave her something to do rather than just being a bossy bitch. That was okay, and it didn't really have much of an impact. The idea that the Lord of the Manor would pay for his cook to have experimental cataract surgery in London is kind of ridiculous, but
I think it was just there to facilitate the more broad, incredibly broad sitcom fodder, wasn't it? Put salt in instead of sugar. Oh bloody hell!
Oh, well, this is it, right? And this is the other thing, apart from the subplots that don't mean anything, the like episodic stuff. Also, just very little moments that don't mean anything. Like, first episode, they're getting all the food together on the kitchen table. They're ready to take upstairs. Oh, Daisy! Oh, bloody hell, I've left a bowl of poison on the table. Can you put that away? Oh, and in your other hand, take this bowl that looks exactly the same, and you take that upstairs to food. And it's like, what? She's taking a bowl. Like, where do you, this is not even a good comedy setup. And then I was expecting it to go somewhere. But all that happens is that she nearly takes the poison and then doesn't. And she's like, oh, I nearly took bloody poison upstairs. And then that's it. It never comes back. I thought it might come back like 3 episodes later where someone poisons someone and it was like just a little crap kind of setup for it. But
I think it's just setting up that her cataracts are causing problems. Or
that's
could
nothing
lead
to do with her. She's just going, oh, bloody hell, ball of poison there. I think it's setting up Daisy's kind of stupidity. I think that's the point.
I've seen at least 3 episodes, I think, in the ones I've watched, and I imagine there's probably more, where the subplot is basically something along the lines of, someone's hidden my bloody sheets! I'm gonna get proper bollocked where are my sheets? Oh, well, if you've misplaced your sheets, then that probably would be a bad reflection upon you. Oh, I'll bloody show you hiding my fucking sheets.
I mean, it is a very low-stakes show at the best of times.
But the characters act like it's to me life and death every time, yes, and it's very annoying.
My favourite one that has really stuck with me over the years is, I think it's from series 4 or 5. Spoiler alert for you, but the character that Dan Stevens plays...
Beast.
What's his name? He dies in the series 3 Christmas special. After Lady Mary has just given birth to their son.
Oh, she gives him some poison because she thought it was sugar.
No, he's in an automobile accident. But yeah.
Oh, anyway, they were setting that up all the way through series 3. Oh, these bloody things are so fast! Safest method of travel available.
she's courting other people, and for some reason, her and a gentleman suitor get like stuck outside in the rain, and it's windy, and the pig's pen opens, and the pigs run out. And they spend about 10 minutes of Lady Mary and this well-dressed man running around outside acting life and death that they need to get these bloody pigs back in the pen. But yeah, that's about as high stakes as it ever got.
Can I make a prediction?
Yes.
Does the car crash happen off screen in a real kind of... you see someone's reaction shot?
Yeah, you're not I seem to remember it's like because he's going back. He's going back to the house, I think, to celebrate or something, and he's not paying attention because he's so happy about his newborn son. And then he's like looking up to the sky, and he gets in a crash with someone and dies, even though they're only going like 20 mile an hour. But they should have had seatbelts.
And there's a man walking in front waving a red flag. There was a specific bit that I noticed. They do a lot of what I like to call Murder, She Wrote cinematography, where they'll suddenly zoom in on some very small detail, as if to go, look at this, everyone, you're going to need to know this for later. But then they did it. Tell me if this goes anywhere in years to come, Calvin. Because there was this one scene, one of the servants, one of the footmen, he leans over, he's serving some food, and it goes this big close-up on the seam of his jacket, which has just come a little bit loose. Needs stitching up.
Yes.
This big dramatic close-up on it. Then it cut the next scene, they're downstairs, and the butler goes, William, you have a seam loose. Get it stitched immediately. And that was it. That was the subplot of that episode. And I just thought, why did they make such a dramatic thing about that?
It's the quickest form of storytelling, Alan. Instead of like a 3-act structure, they've got it down to 2 acts. Boom, boom, done. Set up, payoff, done. Next.
But it was such a dramatic shot on his... I thought it was going to pop open and then like the button was going to smack someone in the eye and a monocle would pop out. And, it's just... drops in someone's soup and then someone chokes on it.
This is the sort of show where that would happen, where the button would pop off, land in someone's throat, they'd choke around the dinner table, and it would be like deadly serious. You wouldn't be expected to think of it as funny.
You wouldn't have seen the one where probably the most horrific thing that happens in the show is, I think, Hugh Bonneville's character. He has some kind of like internal bleeding or something happens. He has a particularly bad stomach ulcer or something, and at one point he's stood up giving a speech at the dinner table and then just like starts splurting blood out of his mouth at the dinner table.
Like Alien.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and then they're all really horrified. I think the blood definitely gets on one of the ladies' faces. I can't remember which one. Maybe his wife. But yeah, we haven't really talked about that, but there is his wife here. What's her name? I can't remember. But anyway, she's American. Elizabeth McGovern plays her. That's an obvious bit of like, we need to sell this across the Atlantic.
Yeah. So they have the kooky...
Get a big American star.
They have the kooky American older woman turn up in Series 3 a lot, who's like, oh, well, I gotta say, you Brits are so quaint. And they all go,
oh, that's Shirley MacLaine.
Well, I never.
Nouveau riche attitudes.
Yeah. Can we talk about the acting in this show?
Can do.
It's awful, isn't it?
Solid all round.
Oh no, it's awful. It's wall to wall awful. And I know a lot of these actors are capable of better.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good cast and they play the parts well. I mean, I must say, I feel like I'm watching a film like from the 1930s about the 1920s when I'm watching it, and I think the acting conveys that well. It feels like an old-fashioned way of acting rather than they're just playing old-fashioned characters, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it reminds me of like school Amdram production.
Okay.
I don't think it's that bad. I think they do the job well enough.
Got to bash it out really quickly.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because in terms of the plot, in terms of the writing, the characters and stuff, this is pure soap opera. It is just classic soap opera, very crappy, tacky script. But the way it's shot is obviously shooting for something higher, and I think it's shot really nicely, actually. I think they do a lot with what must be a relatively low budget. I suspect they don't shoot it that quickly in terms of like the acting wise, like you would want a soap.
I mean, the impression I got watching it was kind of the actors have got their sides for the day that morning, and they've been given like an hour to learn them, and no one's really spoken to them about what they're trying to convey with the lines.
I'll grant you there isn't much in the way of depth in any of the characters. They have their this is your character, do it. That's you're the evil one. The
evil one's the worst one. Worst performance of the lot, I would say. He's awful.
Which one?
The gay Thomas
one.
Barrow.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I think he's. I think he's fine. I think he's doing what he's been asked to do. I don't know how to judge him as an actor on that, but
yeah, he's the most two-dimensional character of the bunch. I think.
It's a crap character. And it does start out quite well, like he's the cocky, arrogant one.
Yeah,
and you don't know at first that he's a total dick. And then they do develop him. You see he's passing information to someone else. He's got this whole gay thing going on, which kind of could go somewhere. It's like, that's good. He's got a secret that could get him in trouble. That could be held against him later, or all this sort of stuff. And then he just becomes cackling villain. Every time you see him, he's stood with the other woman who's the other villain, and he's got a cigarette and going, I tell you what I'm going to do. Fucking kick that bloke in the head. And it's just like... And then they hate Bates for no obvious reason other than that he's got a dodgy leg, and they just fucking hate him.
Well, he's got a shady past, hasn't he?
So anyway, there are lots of characters... Too many, I would argue, and I suspect it gets bigger as they go along, which at least means you're sort of introducing new characters slowly, so it's not too bad. But there's a lot of characters to get into right away. I think they handle it just about well enough. Probably just a bit too much. They try and do all sorts of stuff with Bates. None of it feels justified. None of it what he does. Like, it's like, he's got a bloody limp. He can't do a job of work. Let's try and kill him. That's basically what happens over the course of this series.
Yeah. But he does go to prison at some point.
But the thing is, I can understand why they resent him at first, and Thomas wants his job and all that. But then, by the time you're 4 episodes in, it's supposed to be a year later. He's ingratiated himself with everyone, and the fact that they just keep going worse and worse and hating him. He gives them no justification for that. Like, if he was constantly having a go at them, even if it wasn't justified from their point of view, it would at least make sense.
I think you're right. Like that, like what's already been said, the writing certainly isn't anything short of like soapy, cartoony stuff. But I just find it funny because I disagree with Sol what you were saying about like, the actors just sort of get what they're given in the morning and that's it. Like, I think these scripts are probably, just knowing what I know of Julian Fellows, they are probably prepared well in advance, and it's probably like, I don't think he's staying up until 3 a.m. the previous day typing away, new pages. But I do like the pomposity that he has and that he talks about the show when it is just very, soapy, sort of 1920s Coronation Street stuff.
But that's exactly what I mean. It's pure soap opera because it's set in 1914 and it's a bit fancy backgrounds. People think it's classy and it's good, but it's not.
Yeah, I'd say it's actually quite a badly written show. Honestly, there's all sorts of like Alan says,
the writing is probably the worst element of the whole thing, I think. Rose Leslie is in it, who I've got a bit of a crush on, so I'm all right with that. She's the one who learns to type.
Oh god, yeah.
She's only in series 1.
Well, I only watched series 1, so I'm all right with that.
You know who I've got a bit of a crush on, Alan?
Who?
The attractive one. Because I'm a normal person.
Well, which
are you talking about Lady Sybil?
Penelope Wilton.
Who's the one who's like a bargain bin Keira Knightley? That one.
Do you mean the main woman, the oldest girl?
I don't know. Lily James pops up later on, apparently.
Yes, she does.
She's my favourite
once they kill off Lady Sybil and they need another young attractive lady around, they get her in. It's like, our cousin has come to visit us, and she's staying here for the next 10 years.
I like Maggie Smith the most because I'm attracted to talent.
Well, okay, shall we talk about her? Because we haven't really talked about Maggie Smith, but I think like her character, Violet Crowley, the Dowager Countess, is probably the most iconic thing about the show.
She's having a whale of a
iconic
time.
Character.
She's sat around pissing herself on set. She's there thinking, I
Literally,
can't believe I've been getting away with this for 10 bloody years now. This is hilarious. She's having a great time.
She doesn't talk about the show with much reverence if you've seen her do interviews and stuff. She says that she hasn't actually seen it, and she sort of resents like how she would say like before like Harry Potter came along, and then all of a sudden like, oh yeah, she'd have like 10-year-olds sort of very shyly coming up to her and saying like, oh, excuse me, are you think, and she'd be like, oh right, yes. But then after Downton Abbey, she was sort of saying,
fuck off,
like,
you little urchins.
She was saying like how that then like the American public started recognizing her, and now she doesn't go into Harrods because every time she goes in there apparently this was the thing that made her sort of really recognizable.
She can't go to Harrods anymore.
And the Americans didn't recognize her from Harry Potter. They
apparently not.
Wow.
That's what she says anyway. But apparently that's the difference between films and television. I don't quite know what she meant.
Yeah,
by
Harry
that,
Potter
but maybe
never
people
really
wouldn't
caught on over there, did it?
Well, maybe people just didn't recognize.
Maybe Maggie Smith is a
her.
liar. How about that?
Maybe. Anyway, she cites this, and not in a very flattering way, and apparently she was the last cast member to sign on for the film, and I heard I think it was a producer bullshitting about it, and they were like, oh, well, why do you think it took Maggie Smith so long to sign on? And they were like, oh, well, Maggie, she just wanted to make sure that everyone else was signing on. She didn't want to do it if there were going to be any substitutes. Everyone from the show had to come back for her to do it, but I don't think that's true at all.
Well, she's the only one of this cast that I would expect could be too busy to do a film.
Yeah.
You know, none of these other people have really gone on to... I mean, they're all solid working actors, but it's not like...
They're working at an ITV TV circuit. It's quite different.
Yeah.
So, if they're too busy, it's because they've signed on to be in Panto with Chico from It's Chico time.
But what do you guys think about Maggie Smith's character in this? Again, it is a stock character, a sort of venom-spitting
It's
older
pretty...
woman.
Yeah, she may as well just come in and go, a handbag? And just walk off. Just forget it. Yeah, it's pretty stock stuff. She does it well, obviously.
Yeah.
She obviously filmed all her scenes in about 4 days. That must have been nice for her. Yeah, I thought she might bring a little bit of levity to it, and she does, but I did like how in the first series they set up her, and then they bring in Penelope Wilton to kind of be her kind of... give her a bit of conflict, because everyone else is just kowtowing to her. I like that. That worked for what it was.
They really don't know what to do with Penelope Wilton's character once they kill off her son in it. She's someone who just sort of like, still around. And I think they don't really get rid of that many cast members as the show goes on, and the cast does just continually expand, but then you just have characters like...
This is a show where they should do that.
Well, Mrs. what's her name? Mrs. Downton, she is often one of the ones who's just like given nothing really to do. Sort of waiting around.
I know one of the Christmas episodes they made a big thing about killing off the dog as like
ISIS.
As a middle finger to take that ISIS, war on ISIS.
Well, at the time it wasn't that. At the time it was just like they were like, oh no, we planned on killing off the dog, because when the show started airing, it was just the good old Taliban. But during the airing of it, ISIS became the threat.
Is it true that one of them's got a horse called Hitler? Well, they had to stop mentioning it after series 2.
The thing is,
Someone noticed.
I haven't seen a single mention of the dog ISIS yet.
No, he's not in series 1.
I kind of assumed when I heard they were killing off the dog that it's the long-standing dog that's on the show. Everyone loves the dog. It's going to be a real emotional episode. But from the look of it, they basically add the dog in just to kill it.
No, the dog's around for a bit. I'm sure they'll have referred to her by name.
Is it the one in the opening
in the
sequence?
First series? Yeah, the Labrador.
Oh, okay, I've seen it in the opening sequence then, but that's it.
So, do they kill the dog and like Hugh Bonneville has to go and get his gardener to shoot it because it's got rabies?
No,
but then Hugh's like, no, I'll do it. It's the right thing to do. And they make a huge, they act like that's somehow meaningful and significant.
Yeah.
No, it's a very tender moment. He settles in bed with the dog, and she just goes to the big old kennel in the sky. Yeah.
And then he's like, right, get rid of this dog, to the butler, and the butler goes down to that little kitchen room and goes, right, guys, we're eating cheap tonight.
That's not his voice, so I'll do it properly.
Which one? Which one?
The butler.
Which one?
The main
butler.
one. You know damn well which one.
There's only one butler.
What? Oh, hello, I'm the butler. Oh, hello, I'm the other butler. I don't know which one's which.
There's only one butler.
Not that butler.
In the main house.
I'm sure I was in series 3. Doesn't the butler have a stupid voice because it's a new one? He's all like, "Duh, hello, my name's the butler," and then the American one snogs him, and he's like, "Duh, you like me?" What's up with his voice, Calvin? Is that guy the butler?
Oh, I don't think he's a butler. So I don't think you're defining these job
You don't know the
roles
difference between butler and
accurately.
footman, do you?
No.
You fucking pleb.
Because I believe that he is a footman who you're
There's
talking
only
to.
one butler. It's the bloke out of Brassed Off.
It's Imelda Staunton's husband.
Oh, this is outrage. It looks like a sort of knockoff Alfred Molina.
Oh, the head butler. He's the head butler.
Yeah, he's the butler. There's only one butler.
Fucking butler.
He's
Oh
the
my
head
God.
butler.
I always wanted to ask, do you think this is to blame for Brexit?
I was just I have a sort of a different response to the show now than when I saw it back then, and I think because a lot of the British stiff upper lipness, I think it might have had a bad influence on the target audience who thought that this was an appropriate way to live, and even if they aren't nobility themselves, they might think, oh well, yes, Mrs. Patmore is happy with her lot, so long as she knows her place, and people should know.
Why would you want
place,
to leave service?
And there is a hell of a lot of just arbitrary wanking off over things like tradition, things that actually are completely meaningless and arbitrary, but somehow get instilled with meaning that doesn't exist. So, like, all the characters, right, they're obsessed with the fucking Downton Abbey. They're obsessed with it. They wander around it like the Overlook Hotel. Like, oh, we can never leave this house. This house is more powerful than any one of us. We've always been here, and we always will be here in Downton. It's fucking weird, to be honest. So yeah, I can totally see how it might have instilled an attitude of meaning in stuff that there isn't. There's a whole thing. At one point, they're like talking about potentially moving to a smaller house and downsizing because they don't have the money anymore to keep it going. And the American woman's like, yeah, what's wrong with that? That makes perfect sense. You don't need such a big house. And they're like, oh, tradition! Americans don't understand tradition!
True.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the Thomas character, who's the nasty piece of work, like, he could be the voice of, like, fuck them, they pay our wages, we do a job, we're not kowtow, Sodom, like that kind of attitude. And there is a lot of play you could make with that in the political spectrum as that's going on, but he's just a nasty sort of wanker, so doesn't play. But he would be the character to do that, I think.
Yeah.
But it is like how they play his gayness, and then the black characters that come in, and Lady Sybil's sort of dalliance with political revolutionary groups, and it's just portrayed as this sort of like, oh no, we're okay with it, but just as long as you don't change anything,
it's very. I've made a note. It keeps trying to make points, but what are they? Because throughout the show, it's always kind of tickling the underbelly of making a statement about something, and then it just never actually does, from what I can gather. It's just sort
and
of,
always with a 21st century attitude.
Yeah, it's always like trying to pay lip service to, oh, well, of course, we're acknowledging that times are different now, but we're not gonna, there's good folk on both sides, obviously, good folk on both sides, and it's just, I don't know. Well, so what happens in the movie?
The king and queen come for tea.
It's like,
and they have to tempt...
The king's coming round.
And they have to tempt head butler Carson out of retirement to come and buttle again.
So they take the plastic covers off the sofa, finally.
Yeah, they open up the front room. It's just for special guests. Bring out the best china.
One of the cast members said that it wraps up a lot of loose ends. To be honest, I can't remember there being any loose ends when the show ended. I think the gay one might get a partner.
How is he still in it? Is he in the whole thing?
They're all still in it. Yeah, no, most of them are.
This is definitely a show that needs to kill off some characters or, send them off.
That's what I was saying.
I think if you can have a rolling cast in something like this, just have this character fucks off.
I assumed it was still going and had just been pumping out an episode every year because it is just that thing of, this character's gone, we've got a new chef, this character's come in, there's a new head of the manor now, and it doesn't need...
No, most of them do stick around, but when you think of, this cast, to be, how lucky for some of these people to be in this, this international, across the Atlantic, huge, Carson talked about bicycling through these rural villages in, Thailand or something, and the local villagers would, chase him, shouting, Carson, Carson, at him, because it just translated so well. And, I mean, these people are, if this hadn't been a huge hit and it had lasted 2 series, they would have gone on to have, a fairly stable job on Coronation Street or something like that. But I can see why this cast would want to.
But from a producer's point of view, I think this is a show where you benefit from having the odd character die, or like you do in soaps.
Yeah.
You go off to war, it doesn't come back.
The only one that I can think of that just kind of left because the actress didn't, they had to do a really hasty job because she didn't even come back for a 5-minute cameo. But the evil lady, the dresser lady, who's always outside smoking with the other one. Yeah, she, what's her name? Siobhan something, isn't it? She's in Benidorm, that actress.
Yeah.
She just was like, nah, I just don't want to do it anymore.
I'm watching the film trailer and I'm doing it with the sound off, and my first impression is it's much, much better shot. It looks much nicer. But it appears as though there's a subplot where a French patisserie chef comes to take over the kitchen. Is that accurate?
It's coming over here with his bloody French food. I can't take it.
Yeah, that's the story.
Is that actually what happens?
The trailer is Saul. Basically, the king's coming round for tea. But all the king's servants come ahead of him and all right, you lot can fuck off, we'll handle this. We just need to use your kitchen, piss off. And then they're like, this is Downton Abbey's kitchen and we shall use it ourselves. And then they poison all the staff so that they can buttle the king.
I like this. Hostile takeover. That is a good plot. Because it was either going to be that or they all go on holiday to Megaluf or something. Megaluf.
They did go to the seaside in one of the Christmas specials. I think they went to Cornwall.
Of course.
What is the how are they justifying this as not just being an episode they play in the cinema?
That is what it is. They don't care.
It's not particularly long. I'm sure there's probably a 2-hour episode of the show. There's certainly an hour and a half long episode already.
Yeah, no, all the Christmas specials were 2 hours with adverts. It's just, I'm sure it'll make more money if it's in the cinema, and it's a extra layer of prestige. It's coming out in September. That's when the schools are back. It's safe for the middle-aged people to come out of their homes and go to the cinema again, now that all of the superhero films are out of the way.
I do love a film based on a TV show. It is a real soft spot of mine, but I like it because I like seeing something small and usually 22 minutes in nature get a huge blowout with all the trimmings, whereas this does just look like an episode of the show in the cinema. I mean, it's more nicely shot, definitely, but it's not even like they've cast Judi Dench as the Queen. You would have thought maybe this is where they get a big star in as the King and the big star as the Queen.
Wrong Queen.
Well, they've got Imelda Staunton coming in.
Well, yeah, but you could see her on the show. You could see her being on the show.
Yeah. You're a different audience target, though.
But I'm a cinema-going audience. That's the thing. I would have thought the kinds of people who watch this and just kind of absorb it when it's pumped into their living rooms, Alan, what's a derogatory metaphor?
For what? For being pumped in a living room?
But my point is, I would have thought the majority of the people who watch this show are just going to kind of not go out to the cinema, and it'll just come around and
has this become a sort of destination television in the sense that everyone's willing to sort of go to see another episode?
Is this going to get the Mamma Mia crowd out?
Yes, no, that's exactly it. Like, the audience that this will attract out is an audience that will make a special exception, like 3-4 times a year to go to the cinema. And this will be one of the draws for them. It's like Mamma Mia, it's Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, it's Stan and Ollie.
Do you think there's going to be any CGI in this film? Like someone has a car crash, but they actually show it, that sort of thing.
I don't think anything that exciting is going to happen.
I think one of them's going to drop a teacup and it'll smash. And then we'll have a full set.
What about the corgis?
Wrong queen.
Is that not a generational thing? Is that not been something every queen throughout history has had?
No, they all pick a different dog.
Oh, okay.
They have Dobermans.
I do love the idea of like 20 Dobermans running around Downton Abbey, smashing things over. The butler running around like, I never. The one with the walking stick trying to like catch up with one of them, but then the dog thinks it's like a fetch toy and like steals his cane and he falls over. And obviously it's played like completely sincerely, dramatically, even though it's very funny, like sitcom farce. This is the kind of show, right, where I would expect there to be an episode where, like the Irish one, say, accidentally double books for dinner, and he has to go to dinner with like upstairs and downstairs at the same time. I'm not entirely sure how that works, and he like keeps running off to the bathroom so he can try and do both at the same time. But it's not a comedy, and it's completely serious.
This is worthwhile, this episode.
Should we rate the show out of 10?
Yeah, right. I have been fairly derogatory, joining in with you two throughout this recording, but I will say that this was very pleasant, relaxing television to watch on Sunday evenings. Back when it was on, back when the world was a kinder place, and this made it more hateful, I'm fairly certain. So at the time I would have probably said 7 out of 10, so I'm gonna go with that, 7 out of 10.
Well, similarly, I think I sounded like I'm going to be a lot harsher than I am, because I like I say, I genuinely do think less of humanity after watching the show and seeing what it actually is all about.
Low 7 then.
But taking the show on its own merits. I mean, some episodes are better than others, but I'll give it a 5 out of 10. It's just kind of it's like just TV slop. It's just there. It's fine.
Yeah,
I agree. My issues with it largely extend beyond the show itself.
Yeah, like I've said, the pure soap opera really with nicer backgrounds. I gave it a solid 5.
Oh, well, this was all a lot more, positive than I anticipated.
Yeah. How would we do a Downton Abbey movie though? If like we were told you can do it, because I reckon we can do better than the King and Queen come to stay. They don't even come to stay, do they? They just come for tea.
We don't know really.
I'm thinking Home Alone. Who's the simpleton woman?
Daisy.
Let's say Daisy's Home Alone and she has to defend. Let's say World War II kicks off. Is that about right for series after Series 6? Are they up to that point yet?
No.
How much longer have they got?
I think they're in 1930, so they have another 9 years to go.
Shit! So we can't have the Nazis invading. Oh! Hugh Bonneville and his mate, all the posh ones go on holiday, and you think, it's going to be about them going to Magaluf together, and that's going to be the holiday. But what it's actually about is all the housekeepers like having a risky business like at home, dancing around in their underpants to Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger, and what they get up to like when like living like posh people.
Because they do that in the series. They all go off to London for the summer season. So yeah, it's just like what goes on while the bosses are away.
Yeah, like they put on their clothes, they walk around going, "Oh, hello."
But it turns out that all that happens is they just get on with the job and they clean the chimneys and stuff, and they've actually got a lot of responsibilities. And if they don't get them done, they'll get fired and then they'll die, because if you haven't got a job, you can't eat.
No one's going to hire Mrs. Patmore if she gets fired from the fanciest place in all of Grantham.
There's no healthcare.
You know what? I'd never really thought about it, but for ages, I must have been confusing Hugh Dennis with Hugh Bonneville.
Fuck's sake! What is your problem with first names?
Well, I was watching Downton Abbey and I was like, it's the guy from Not Going Out, isn't it? Bear in mind, I've never really watched Not Going Out either.
I like Hugh Bonneville.
Well, that's his problem, really, isn't it? That's how people feel about him.
Yeah, I mean, I used to feel that way, and then I saw him try and act angry in Downton Abbey in the episode where she goes off to do the politics, and I was like, he really hasn't got any range. He can't do anything other than kind of benevolent indifference.
That's Paddington.
He does it so well, though.
Obviously, we're all scum at heart. If we're 1912, we're working in service, we're working in the house, what's your job? Because I really want to be Thomas, the gay footman who hates everyone. I feel like that would be my natural position.
Well, I would like to be him as well, but I feel like I'd be, without education, I feel like I'd have just ended up being one of those simple footmen.
One who wants to really work with horses, but...
Can I just...
Yeah.
Alan's made me think about what chores there are, and it's just made me wonder, is there an episode of Downton Abbey where they make a big thing out of vacuuming the house, and they have like the big old-timey vacuum brought in?
Oh my god. There are episodes where... what is it? It's not a vacuum exactly, but there is something where they bring in like an automatic mixer or like a kettle that can heat itself, like, and Mrs. Patmore's obviously outraged by it and thinks it's going to do her out of a job.
Another classic sitcom plot that's being played deadly seriously. Father Ted has literally that plot where Mrs. Doyle gets jealous about a coffee machine.
No, I think it might be a toaster or something like that. Something comes in and Mrs. Patmore gets really insecure about it for an episode.
Bloody George Foreman grill. What's the George Foreman grill?
Does she sabotage it? Does she like wedge a fork in it?
It's something goes haywire, and then it's like, we haven't got our bloody toast for the eggs. Oh God, what will we do now? And then Mrs. Patmore like gets the fire.
That's my pitch for the movie. They get a robot butler. And they go nuts. They're like, bloody robot, can't do anything. But it's so much better than they are at everything. And it's hijinks and shoe.
So I think this is in the last episode of series 1, so you might have missed it. But there is, in that episode, they get a telephone.
Oh.
Yes.
And do they start getting phone calls from people saying, hello? Is your refrigerator running?
We don't have a refrigerator.
I wouldn't know. I don't operate the kitchen. I'll put you through to our head chef. Hello? Bloody refrigerator!
Hello, is Hugh there?
What would I be if I was a servant? Let's see. Where would I... I feel like I'd be working my way up towards being the chef
I cook.
I think
Did they say chef?
You don't have man chefs.
Do you not?
Not in those days.
Men made better chefs in the old days. Everyone knew that.
Only in France, yeah.
I'd grow the moustache.
Oh, fair enough.
All right. So I wouldn't be a cook. I don't think I'd suit. I think I'd want a job where I was largely didn't have to interact with them directly very much. So either a driver or maybe the stable hand. They have someone looking after the horses.
Yeah, that's a big job though. That's difficult.
Gardener. I think I'd be the gardener. Do they have a gardener?
They must have. Yeah.
Someone who just wanders around trimming all the bushes.
I can see you doing that.
Maybe lets the dogs out of the kennel in the morning and lets them.
When it's really hot, you take your cravat off.
No, they wouldn't.
And
like
then
that.
drink a Diet Coke. And they're like, ooh.
They would not like that at all. Ding dong.
We have not got electric doorbells at Downton Abbey.
Oh, lads. It's the classics today. It's me, classic Sean. Japanese Bond, Sean edition.
Hello. Shall I do Downton Abbey Footman?
Yes.
Okay. What's that doing here? They haven't written ahead 3 weeks ahead to tell us you're coming.
We haven't
got anybody here to receive you.
Bloody coat. So what's fucking Yorkshire gone? Right, hang on. What am I? I am Brew. Oh, lads, it's me. Take me coat.
Oh, I've got to take bloody Scotsman's coat now. Is he Japanese or Scottish? What's going on?
I wrote you from Japan. I can't do accent today, lads. Can't do it. It's getting all transatlantic. I've been spending too much time hopping about from Japan.
Oh, you're back into it there, actually. I think you've just about, yeah.
So take me coat, lads.
I believe it's called a kimono.
Yeah. Very nice, Sean. Very nice. You've got an eye on you. Well done.
A lovely dragon embroidered in the back of it there.
There's a very slight mark on that kimono. I trust if I give it to you to have a look at, I trust you won't accidentally use the acid on it instead of the salt crystals and burn a hole in it. Hijinks ensue.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm here, lads. Hear about the Patreon. This is very similar to Downton Abbey, isn't it? There's like a big pot of money. There's a load of little peons all propping up something much larger than themselves, and no one really knows why. Sure. Diminishing returns, lads. What you putting out on that Patreon these days?
Oh, I'll tell you what just went out today. Lion King review.
I mean, lads, you promised that Lion King episode about 3 weeks ago, so what's going on there?
Well, that's when we recorded it. I haven't had time to edit it. Also, by the time you're listening to this, it'll be 2 weeks ago it was out. But yeah, we've just put 3 things out in the last few days.
Well, that's
29. There's 29 Diminisodes out there at the moment.
That's quite a lot, lads. That's quite a lot. And I understand there's 2 full, not even Diminishodes, just episodes that are exclusives.
That's correct. Japanese Bond.
Well, it's not as shite as I thought, I suppose. Not quite. So anyway, I'm here. I'm doing the shout outs. We got a lad called Sam, or it might be a lass called Sam, because I don't know. You know, I'm more progressive and looking to the future than the Downton lot. I understand a lassie can be a Sam Bond in this day and age. You know.
What's the surname of Sam?
Well, I don't know.
It just says Sam.
Just Sam. Sam the man.
Could be Sam.
Or Sam the woman. That's what I call him. We got another one here. We got a Grace Kelly Miller.
Grace Kelly, yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Big fan of her, are you? Go on.
I love her work. A woman, did you say?
I know. I was as shocked as you, lads. I was as shocked as you when that came in.
Do you have any sight of the demographic figures? Because when I looked at my YouTube recently, it was 99.4% male and then 0.6% female.
Other.
I did have a look a while ago at I think I could get up our Facebook statistics, and I think it was like basically 100% men.
Yeah.
There aren't any women on there that I don't know personally.
And we got a very special patron here.
Oh yeah.
It's only. Do you know what it is, Alan?
Is it Michael Gross?
No.
Well, that's a nice little
you
reference.
are having a laugh if you think
Old school
Michael
friend of the
Gross even knows you exist, lads. You are.
We talked about him enough.
You are in Crazy Town. No, it's the one, the only YouTube James Bond expert extraordinaire.
Oh.
And I don't mean Dutch Bond fan. No, it's Calvin M. Dyson.
Ooh. Calvin Milhouse Dyson.
Welcome to the club, Calvin M. Dyson. Now you can hear.
No, thank you.
You're
Well, I'm
allowed to-
very
the
jealous of all
exclusive
the
content.
shout-outs. Yeah, no, exactly.
we wouldn't let you listen to the
Exactly, you
to the
had
episode.
no access to all us chatting about all stuff you were featuring on. You had no access to it, but now you do. Sure.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
You don't
Yeah.
even listen to our normal episodes that you're not on, Calvin.
Sure. Huge thank you as ever to all our
Thank you.
all
very
our
much.
patrons.
How much
huge-
is Calvin giving us?
$1 a month.
The basic minimum. What a tight git.
This is because I've never contributed financially to this podcast ever. So I thought I should.
Well, anyway, lads, I have to say we've crossed over the threshold, lads, into being financially stable.
Ooh.
The Patreon
Really?
now sustains the podcast in its full. Yeah, all the hosting fees, all that. It's all completely
Yes, by
covered, so-
sustaining,
Fees?
you mean our basic costs.
Yeah.
Doesn't, for example, pay for all the DVDs we buy or the time we put in.
That's
We do appreciate it,
covering-
of course.
Covering
but,
all
yeah.
the basic costs, so that's something, lads. I'll
That
tell
is
you
good.
what, you've put up a new goal there for
Oh,
go chuck some more money at the show.
Yeah, we better tell Calvin about this because he doesn't know.
If we get up to that new goal, lads, we might just get some live episodes on the go. So
live?
yeah,
Yes.
What's the goal?
I can't even remember. It's something like $85 a month or something. I can't remember that.
It's a lot.
Good God, you're raking it in.
Well, we're never going to make that.
I was going to
That's
say
why
that
we
we're never
these
going to make
hollow
that.
promises
So
of
it
doing a
doesn't
live
matter, lads. But yeah, I think the plan is if we get up to there, I think there might be a live episode or possibly a few. But I think we'll do one down in London probably because cheaper for travel. You two are down there. That's if Mr. Calvin M. Dyson would even want in on that. So there you go.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Course he would.
Yes.
So chuck some money,
Yes.
and you can come and watch Diminishing Returns live. Tell all your
What
friends.
would that be? Would we like rent out a room in a pub and?
I think so. Yes, I mean, like a 12-seater or something.
We could just do it outside. If the weather's good. Park.
Just shouting at strangers.
With a megaphone. I don't know if that was me or Bond. With a megaphone. All right. Well, thanks, Japanese Bond. Why?
Yes, thank you.
I believe I had a kimono when it. No shit. I believe I had a hat when it. No, it's not. It's not funny if I actually had it, is it? It's not a Bond reference if I actually had one. I believe I had a samurai sword when I came in. Yeah, now it's James Bond related again. Right, see you lads. Ta-da.
Calvin, get
Bye.
Mr. Bond his samurai sword. What do you mean that's brocking it? Bloody hell, what are we going to do?